Hey guys, what's up? It's Kevin for the win, and we're back for another edition of Diablo 3. Diablo 3 Season 23 begins on this Friday coming up. So it's only fitting that we take a look at the best starter set armor that you can use for Season 23. That being the Wrath of the Waste set, which is for the Barbarian class. This is the Whirlwind Barbarian build that people love to gravitate towards. So two-piece bonus says increase the damage per second of Ren by 500%. We're going to ignore that. Four-piece bonus during Whirlwind and for 3 seconds after you gain 50% damage reduction. And your applied Rens deal triple damage. Six-piece bonus. Whirlwind gains the effect of Dust of Devil's Ruin, and all Whirlwind and Ren damage is increased by 10,000%. This doesn't sound like a lot, but when you incorporate the rest of the stuff that we have in this build, it does a ton of damage. So we're going to be using also Captain Crimson set because this was recommended by Living Dead on our comments, and it's actually a really good recommendation for this set. Captain Crimson, as always, does increased amount of cooldown and resource reduction, as well as increases the amount of damage that you do based on the amount of cooldown reduction that you have. So we're going to be putting it on the belt and the pants. The rest of the armor pieces are going to be from the Wrath of the Waste set. We're going to be using a Traveler's Pledge and Compass Rose, which will allow us to take more damage when we are, or take less damage, I should say, when we are moving around. And when we're standing still, maybe if we're casting a Ren, we actually can do increased damage. We're going to be using Skullgrass, which basically just says increase the damage of Whirlwind by 387%. It could be higher, it could be lower, depends on what you actually get in your RNG. Also, Mortrix Brace, that way we can have all the ruins of Wrath of the Berserker, so it can do a lot of damage. Weapons, this is very important. We're going to be using the Bukalos set. So 15% Fury Generation. During Whirlwind, you gain 45 increased attack speed and movement speed. Absolutely necessary that you run these two swords in conjunction with Whirlwind if you want to do a lot of damage. For the skills, Wrath of the Berserker doesn't matter because of the braces. Ren, Mutilate here. This is only really in case things get really hairy. Threatening Shout, which is going to be Falter. That way we can increase the amount of damage that we do to things when we're whirlwinding around. Battle Rage, which is very important as you get higher up in the Greater Rifts. That way we can increase the amount of damage that we do. Ignore the Pain. That way we can decrease the amount of damage that we're being taken care of. And Whirlwind. Blood Funnel here, but it really doesn't matter because you're also going to get the Dust Devils. But go Blood Funnel. For the passives, you have Weapons Master, which increases the amount of damage that we are going to be able to do. Rampage, which also increases the amount of damage. Inner Ice Cube, very important. Echoing Fury, Mantle of Channeling, and the Ring of Royal Grandeur. Since we're mixing things in the set, this is where my Paragon is. If you're starting Season 23, obviously you have to build up your Paragon. So you're going to have to work a lot to get what you want out of this set. For the rings, or I should say for the rings and the necklace, our legendary gems are Bane of the Stricken, Bane of the Trap, and Goak of Swiftness. Don't swap out for anything else. Or correction, you can swap out. Instead of Bane of the Trap, you can swap out for the Teguk gem. That's actually better off. So I would say run Teguk, Bane of the Stricken, and Goak of Swiftness. Those are the gems you want to run on this set. Unless you don't have them leveled up, then you gotta obviously modify. So this is gonna be very fast. This is super speedy and fast even when non-optimized. What you're gonna do is, the minute you get into the gates, start casting your Whirlwind. Honestly, never let it go unless your Wrath of the Berserk is active and you need to click it. Click it, cast your Battle Cries or Threatening Shouts when you're near enemies, because that way you can increase the amount of damage that you're already doing to enemies. It takes a while sometimes for your Threatening Shout to go off again. Never use your Threatening Shout unless you see a lot of enemies on the screen, because if not, it's basically you're wasting it. When it comes to Battle Rage, usually save that for the Elite Packs. You don't want to use it on anything else because most things will be one-shotted, especially on the lower Greater Rifts, when you are just whirlwinding around, thanks to the Dust of Devil's Ruin that's automatically built in, as well as the Skullgrass, which does increased amount of damage with Whirlwind, plus the weapons that we're using do increased amount of damage as well. All these things stack together to be able to just spin to win, which is basically the concept for Whirlwind Barbarian. honestly, there's not too much to the strategy. As you can see here, I cast my Wrath of the Berserk, go back to Whirlwinding. I'm not really using Threatening Shout too much because there's not really enemies that it requires it on. I usually would save it for Elite Pack, case in point here, and then I explode the Elite Pack, as you see, and just continue Whirlwinding around. Usually, you are not going to run out of Fury regeneration here if you follow the exact build to the T, and this is available in the description. I have a link to the Icy Veins build. Very good resource for Diablo 3. Always will recommend using them when it comes to those who need to see things on paper and more systematic breakdowns. Now, since this will be your starter set for Season 23, for those of you who are new to Diablo and are not familiar with how a season plays out, in a season, you have chapter objectives. It goes all the way up to, like, chapter 13. Every time you clear a set of objectives in a chapter, you are given a reward. Now, for the first chapter, you don't really get anything important outside of, like, a banner and graphic. However, starting in chapter 2, 3, 4, and above, every time you complete a chapter, you get a reward. For chapters 2 through 4, you get something that's called a Hadred's Gift. Now, a Hadred's Gift basically is 2 pieces of your starter set armor, which is this armor for the Barbarian class for the season, the Wrath of the Waste. So when you complete Chapter 2, you'll get 2 pieces of it. When you complete Chapter 3, you'll get the other 2 pieces. And when you complete Chapter 4, you'll get the remaining 2 pieces. You are always guaranteed the complete set in your Hadred's Gift. Very important. You're guaranteed the complete set. What you are not guaranteed are ancient legendary pieces of that armor because it is RNG based. And for those of you who are really, really new, very important, there is no way you will be able to get a primal ancient legendary of your Hadred's Gift. That's just not going to happen because in order to get primal ancient legendaries to drop in a season, you have to complete a greater rift of 70 or higher. Now, unless you're going to like have a bunch of friends who've done the season already and they're going to carry you through that greater rift 70, highly unlikely. I don't recommend trying to get Hadred's Gift Primal Ancient Legendary. Not worth it. Not possible unless you do that one scenario, so don't even bother with that. And it's not guaranteed that you'll get an Ancient Legendary, but you are guaranteed all 6 pieces. Now, when you do get your Hadred's Gift, there's certain things you're going to want to focus on to make your life much easier. First thing you should focus on is getting a good set of your Bu Kalus weapons. Very important that you have these weapons because if you don't, it's going to be really impossible to get the most out of your Whirlwind. The next thing that you definitely want to focus on is getting your Skullgrass ring. That takes kind of a while because of RNG. There's a lot of rings for the Barbarian, a little bit more than what people would like to see, so it could take a while, but you need to get the Skullgrass. First the weapons, then the Skullgrass. And then from there, do a lot of bounties. And the reason for this is you are not going to be able to craft Captain Crimson set from the start. You're not going to be able to do it. It's going to require you to do a lot of bounties to be able to clear through things. And you have to run into the goblin that drops the plans. And sometimes the goblin will show up in your seasonal charity very early. Sometimes he doesn't show up till very late. So the more bounties you do in the beginning of the season, the better your chances. Another reason why I recommend doing bounties is you need blood shards to do rolls. Lots and lots of rolls you're going to need. You're going to need to also cube things in your Kanai's Cube. I also recommend doing bounties early because you need a Ring of Royal Grandeur to put into your Kanai's Cube just to be able to use the Captain Crimson set. So if you do your bounties very early on in the season, you're going to run into the Ring of Royal Grandeur, which only drops when you complete a bounty on Act 1 or Act 2. And then you get it in the cachet that Tyrael gives you. And sometimes you get the ring very early in, and then you can cube it. But then, if you don't have the materials that you need to be able to complete the bounty, it's all for naught. So, first things first, get the 2 swords first. Then get your Skullgrass. Then just start farming your bounties. so that you can get your Ring of the Royal Grandeur to cube that Ice Cube. Also, while you're doing those bounties, chances are you are going to run into the plans for Captain Crimson, which is very important. Then start tackling on the Greater Rifts. If you optimize your armor very early on in terms of just getting the things you need to do the maximum amount of damage, you'll be able to clear the Greater Rift 70 in virtually no time because of how powerful this armor is. Now, to further optimize this armor, my recommendation would be in your helm, you want 6.0 or 8.0 crit hit chance. 6.0 is probably the best bet you're going to get if your helm is not an Ancient Legendary piece. Now, for the gloves, this is my recommendation as it works the best for this particular class. I recommend that you get a attack speed of 6 to 8%. It's very important. Doesn't matter. 6 is perfectly fine. Preferably 7 or 8 would be better because it'll be able to push a little bit more damage. But as long as you have an attack speed is what really matters. Crit hit damage must be 50%. Very, very important to get 50% on that. And then crit hit chance, if you have an Ancient Legendary, it could be 8% chance or 6% chance. Whatever you happen to get, just go with it because it's probably going to be able to give you the maximum amount of damage just having those free stats on your glove. Now, since we are using Captain Crimson, my recommendation is, because you want to increase the amount of damage based on the amount of cooldown reduction you have, get cooldown reduction wherever you can. I still prefer usually to have 12% movement speed on my boots, but if you need that extra damage, definitely you can swap out the 12% movement speed for cooldown reduction there. You can also get cooldown reduction, if I'm not mistaken, in the chest, depending on your RNG. You can also get it in the shoulders. So very, very, very important to get it on the shoulders and at least in the boots, because that will increase the amount of damage you're doing significantly. Now, I have strength gems in here. This is not any reason outside of I just want my attack stat very high. If you wanted to optimize this armor further, you would probably have a Amuset jewel. That's the purple jewel. Or correction, that's not the purple jewel, is it? Yeah, Amuset is purple. So Amuset jewel, so that you could give yourself a little bit more toughness in your helm. In your weapons, you want your green gem, which is your emerald, because that will increase the amount of critical hits that is done. And since you have 2 weapons, it increases the amount of critical hits even further. In the torso, I would probably put the strength gems there. In the pants, if you have slots, you could put 2 royal diamonds for extra cooldown reduction. Or if you just feel like you're not hitting things harder, you can put 2 red gems, which are the ruby. Obviously, go for the highest available gems, which would be flawless, whatever the gem it is. That's how you optimize here. But that's kind of my recommendations if you want to go. And if you just feel like you don't need it very early on, just put all red in, because it's not going to really matter until you get very high up in the Greater Rift, where we're talking Greater Rift 100, 130. Then you really want to start investing and then getting the right, most optimal things. Once you have these basic optimization set, then start working on your legendary gems. You go into Greater Rifts, and if you've optimized your armor already before you've even really started going through Greater Rifts, you will be able to clear through a Greater Rift 70, preferably non-optimized, without really any problems. And if you get your Greater Rift to level 70, and you can do it super fast, you'll be able to augment your gems to level 50, which is actually a seasonal journey challenge that happens very early on. Then level 60, which is another seasonal journey challenge that happens very early. And then level 70, you'll be able to then get primal ancient legendaries to drop during your seasonal journey, which is very important. And usually a Greater Rift 70 is required to be able to clear through the full chapter, or not full chapter 4, but chapter 5 and above. And you want to get the pet. I'm a little bit upset that this season we're not getting, yet again, a new set of wings. Instead, we are getting pets. Pets get gold. I'm not a fan of pets. My preferred choice of cosmetic are wings. It's been a long time since we have gotten any wings. One of the pets from a previous season is making a comeback. I believe that's the one you get for completing through season, or your season journey chapter 4. if you complete the full journey, you get the brand new pet, which it looks okay, I guess. If you're a fan of pets, this is the season for you. If you are somebody that prefers wings, well, you're like me, you're probably crying in the corner. Now, as for the actual seasonal buffs that you get, it's not as fancy as it was last Diablo season. Last Diablo season, we got clones. This season, what they've done is they increased the amount of ancient legendaries that can drop, as well as your blood shards, as well as the amount of gold that you're able to get, and some rubies, I believe, also have been augmented. So, it's going to be easier to get ancient legendaries during the season if you are playing as a seasonal character, and you'll be able to get a lot more blood shards, which is important, and this kind of ties back to the point I was making earlier, where do those bounties early, because this is one of the few times where you're actually getting a lot more out of doing the bounties. So definitely I recommend doing bounties. Do your bounties, guys. I'm telling you this for a very good reason, because it will cut down in the amount of farming that you're going to have to do to complete the full seasonal journey, at least by half if you do these bounties very, very, very early. Now, this should be a greater of 70, so this is 70, and as you can see, 3 minutes and 16-second clear time with this armor. Definitely, as you can see, it's a speed armor. Now, this is an armor where it is considered S tier, meaning that it is going to get very high leaderboard placement for you because of how easy it is, how much damage it does, and how fast it goes. Now, if you're a fan of having your name very high up on that leaderboard, this is the armor to pick for the season. This is the best armor to rock with. This is the best class to rock with. It's probably the easiest in terms of the setup and the fact that you get everything super easy outside of Captain Crimson. If you're not a fan of Whirlwind Barbarian, my recommendation is you look into Demon Hunter or Cursed, not the Cursed set, but the Unhallowed Essence set. I actually did a video for that at the very end of Season 22, but I've entitled it Season 23 because all the information for that applies. So that is a very good armor as well. That can put you very high up into leaderboard placement with the starter set armor. It doesn't require as much setup to be able to get it to get going, but it does use a Captain Crimson set for full optimization as well. These are the two armors that you really want to focus on if you want high leaderboard placement and just, you know, you want the pet and you want to get your seasonal journey out of the way super fast and efficient. Go those two classes, Whirlwind, and then if not Demon Hunter, that's the best one. Like I mentioned before, the Witch Doctor doesn't have a terrible start, but it doesn't have a good start either. I will actually be talking more about the Witch Doctor for Friday's video, because for those of you who are brave and don't like Barbarian and you don't like Demon Hunter and you're a fan of the Witch Doctor, we're going to show you the starter set on Friday. I got to tell you, it involves a lot of bears, a lot of zombie bears, because that's going to look to be the most viable way to complete your seasonal journey, or at least get you pretty far, so then you can swap out for something like maybe Mundunugu, although it remains to be seen if even Mundunugu is going to be still S-tier based on the changes. Then we have the Monk. The Monk is a pretty bad set. I actually just covered this video about 3 or 4 weeks ago. The Raiment of 1,000 Storms. I will revisit it again for those of you who need a breather or who kind of need to find your way as to how can you get this to work for your seasonal journey. That'll be next week. At some point. Probably it'll be a Friday video. Because I do want to cover one of the armors that got significant changes, like Firebird or Rothmon, before I get into the rest of the starter sets. But basically, if you want to and you're playing the Monk, look at my Season 22 video of Raiment of 1,000 Storms. It's available in the Popular tab. All the information for that applies. There's been no changes to the Monk whatsoever for Season 23 of Diablo. So keep that in mind. The Tal Raja set just went live recently, so we just covered that. So we pretty much have covered all these armors. I just needed to bring back the Whirlwind Barbarian because it's been a while since we had covered it on the channel. I am going to be looking into a lot of the armors that got changed. So Rothmon, going to be looking at that in depth. It might take me a little while because I have to get the new item to drop for the season when the season goes live so that I can play test with that. And then I will also cover the Firebird set, which got some significant changes, so that's going to look interesting. Hopefully it's able to do B tier rank now. It's still kind of up in the air as to where it's going to go in leaderboard placement. As you can see, look at all those buffs, and I didn't even fully buff there. So I'm doing 45k damage. If I wanted to, I could push this to 80 or 90 when I have the rest of my buffs up and I'm channeling my Whirlwind, because remember, Taeguk is giving me up to 10 stacks, and that's increasing the amount of damage that I am putting out as well. And when you get the full stacks plus that, you're looking at somewhere between 89k to about 10k damage, depending what you do. So, doing a lot of damage with the set. So it was a very good recommendation by, I believe the user was Living Dead, that left it in the comments. Like I mentioned before, when it comes to Diablo free videos, always leave me your input and feedback in the suggestions. I do take them to heart. I do experiment with them. Good ideas do get shown on the channel, so definitely credit to the Living Dead. I hope that is the right username that I am using. If not, I will make a correction in the description to that, who made the suggestion to use the Captain Crimson set. So definitely let me know in the comments what you would like to see me cover for Season 23 of Diablo. Definitely give you your own personal recommendations when you are playing Whirlwind Barbarian. What do you like to use? What do you like to experiment with? Definitely feedback. Keep the comments coming. Keep the interactions going. I always reply back to everybody in the comments, whether it's constructive criticism or, you know, positive criticism, because there is such a thing as positive criticism. I do pretty much answer everybody back for the most part. There are one or two exceptions where if you are trying to promote your channel through negative commenting, yeah, I probably will have to flag that comment and remove it, which has happened, ironically, you would figure, on this channel, which only can mean that we must be doing something right, guys, if we got people coming to promote their channels on my channel's videos. So, yay to us, we're doing something right. So there's that. So definitely, though, keep the feedback coming. I do answer the comments. I try to answer them daily as I'm uploading videos. On the weekends, I spend a lot of time game capturing, so if I don't get back to your comments super fast, just keep in mind that usually weekends I'm not by my computer often, or I am game capturing for the following week's worth of content, not just for Diablo, because as people who follow the channel regularly know, I'm doing more than just that. Like for the month of April, we're doing 2 Monster Hunter Rise videos a week on Mondays and Thursdays. Diablo will be Wednesdays and Fridays. Tuesdays right now looks like I'm going to go Plants vs. Zombies route. And Wrestling Empire will probably be taking a break for a while because it has not done as well as it was doing in the beginning. So I think people are kind of tired of it, and I can't blame them because there's been some updates to the game, but nothing that is necessarily groundbreaking. And all the matches after a while do kind of feel the same despite all the match types you're playing with based on the limited movesets. So that's one of the reasons why I've opted to put Wrestling Empire on the back burner for now. I did debate maybe going to 7-day-a-week content again, but the problem with that is that I'm only one person recording audio and game capturing for the channel, and it takes quite a lot to be able to keep consistency up with the 5 days a week content. I think 7 would be pushing it a little too much, and I wouldn't be able to prepare the videos as well as I'm doing them right now, where I'm able to optimize these things further. And, you know, anybody who would follow Whirlwind Barbarian Season 22, this is a significant change to how I was running it before, where I was struggling in Greater Rift 70 to clear this. This is a Greater Rift 80. As you can see, we're still tearing through things. So my advice here, follow this build to the T. When you get into a Greater Rift, cast your Wrath of the Berserk as fast as possible. Channel your Whirlwind. When you get to large areas of mobs, this is when you want to use your Threatening Shouts, preferably on elite packs, as those are the ones you really want to target for your purple orbs that you need to be able to go through the Greater Rift at faster rate and to summon the Rift Guardian. Cast your Battle Cries only on elite packs and the Rift Guardian, as that's where you want to do your most amount of damage, and the rest of the time that you're using Warcry, you'll just be expending it for no reason. Rend is only here if you run into a situation where you feel like you need to add a stack of damage to something. Case in point here, I'm just going to Whirlwind, and I'm constantly going to be channeling my War Cry, waiting for my Threatening Shout to get active. Threatening Shout there. We're going to be able to do more damage. Keep in mind, Bane is stricken. The cumulative damage, this... Oop, probably should have dodged out away that charge there, but it doesn't matter. Don't worry if you take a death here, because as you get higher up in the Grey Rifts, it can happen if you get a little bit sloppy. Case in point there. Alright, guys, so as you can see here, we just killed the Rift Guardian, Greater Rift 80, relative ease, and this is going to be a pretty fast clear time as well, which is what you want to do with Wrath of the Berserk, or not Wrath of the Berserk, I should say, Wrath of the Waste Armor, as it is all about fast, efficient runs. Don't really need the rest of this gear, I can pretty much tell. I'm going to identify it. We did not, unfortunately, get a Primal Ancient Legendary, which I always kind of like to see them just in case. So I have actually gotten some pretty decent drops for Barbarian class that are Primal Ancient Legendaries. My Immortal King set actually has 2 Primal Ancient Legendaries on it. My Rothbun set has a Primal Ancient Legendary as well on the actual armor. Okay, let's see. We're just going to level up this gem. I am going to use it somewhere down the line for armor. That is actually for the Barbarian that we covered recently, but I'll be doing that way, way later in the season after we get through some of the more important, newer things that have been changed, augmented, or as part of the Season 22 starter sets from Hadron's Gift. Alright, let's see what the clear time. 4 minutes on Greater Rift 80, guys, and that was only because I played a little bit sloppy and got a kill. Usually you'll get 3-minute clear times, Greater Rift 80. You can push this as high as Greater Rift 85 or 90 if you start augmenting your gems on your, or augmenting the gem armors with the gems, legendary. My recommendation, wait to augment them at level 80 if you want to do the high Greater Rifts, but if you're struggling in the lower Greater Rift levels, which I don't think you're going to really do with the, if you follow this build to the T, you could augment gems at like level 70 or 60. I don't recommend doing it unless you're really struggling. It's usually, in those particular situations, better to reroll, because chances are you just don't have ancient legendary pieces or good rolls on your stats, which is causing you not to be able to clear things and do a lot of damage fast. Usually this will play you straight through to Greater Rift 70, and then you start really augmenting when you get up to Greater Rift 80, and you can get your gems to 80, preferably even 100. That's really what you want to do, but do 80, and then from there, as you're getting higher up, then go back and re-augment those, because you can re-augment at level 100 gems, and then go and clear this thing. You should be able to clear your seasonal journey with this set, maybe in 2 months if you're really grinding a lot. So that'll do it for today's video. Make sure to give this video a like, and if you're not already subscribed to the channel, consider doing so. Thanks for watching.